Well, Cleveland won't go away. A showdown in the West is about to unfold, and one of the greatest Los Angeles Dodger players of all time is going to call it a career.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your energy a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com or go to Amazon today. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. On Instagram, I'm your pal Sully with Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube channel. Leave a comment. I read them all. I post a lot of them up here. And make sure you use that hashtag EverydaySully so I know who's listening to us every day, and I can help. It basically helps find some of your comments. We're going to be doing a listener comment show in a few days, but a lot of stuff going on here. But let's do the trivia question. Jose Ramirez tied what Hall of Famer for most plate appearances in Cleveland Major League Baseball history? That was the question. A Hall of Famer, Jose Ramirez, who might be a Hall of Famer himself by the time all is said and done. He is now tied. I think he's now passed him. What Hall of Famer for most plate appearances in Cleveland Major League Baseball history? Well, Jackson Van Hooser said a Hall of Famer, Napoleon Lajoie, who was so popular they had the team named after him. They were the Cleveland Napoleons, the Cleveland Naps. That's a phenomenal guess, Jackson Van Hooser. Too bad it's wrong. Another Hall of Famer. Oh, this guy has a lot, and it's Gavin DeLaLouche. Gavin DeLaLouche. I'm guessing this is a play on Nuke LaLouche. 2994 for the trivia question. I'm guessing Lou Boudreau. Lou Boudreau, great Cleveland Indian. Managed the Cleveland Indians to the 1948 World Series title. Hall of Famer, and incorrect. This one is Joshua Nichols, 7643. I'm guessing Jim Tomey because he and Jose are both Tiger killers who ruined my life at times. Well, I hope you get your therapy, but you didn't get the right answer. And Del Ploss says, hey, Sully, been listening every day for the last couple of years. Love the show. Cleveland was mentioned in the trivia. I got to chime in for my team. Jose Ramirez just tied Earl Averill, and that's correct. That is the correct answer. So good job, and thanks for the kind words. Hunter Greene, by the way, pitched a masterpiece today, a 1-0 game. Cincinnati Reds are still looming in the postseason hunt, and that cancels out one of the 1-0 losses at the beginning of the year. So, those 1-0 losses are haunting them, but they got a 1-0 win, so maybe it's the universe evening out right there. But we need to pay our respects to Clayton Kershaw. The Giants and Dodgers are still playing as I'm recording this, but let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. Is he the greatest Los Angeles Dodger of all time? According to WAR, and some of you love WAR, he is. But let's break some of this down. Clayton Kershaw has been pitching since 2006, and his 18-year career is going to come to an end this year. He's calling it a career, and you know what? He's having a fine year. He's still a good player, but he's calling it quits. He has nothing left to prove. Now, call him the greatest Dodger of all time. That's a little bit of a complicated title. I think there are two players who need to be in the discussion for greatest or the most influential Dodger of all time. I guess I have to phrase it that way. Jackie Robinson, who grew up here in Pasadena before going to Brooklyn, is the most impactful Dodger of all time. And Sandy Koufax, who was born in Brooklyn and came to Los Angeles, I think is the most influential Los Angeles Dodger of all time. You could put out other players with bigger stats, but they are the two figures in Dodger history that stand, the tallest. But who else is in that list? That's a surprise. The Dodgers, for a team with a tremendous amount of success, is surprisingly short on all-time hitter talent. And most of the great talent are pitchers. You can make the great case for Don Drysdale. But you got Brooklyn Dodgers like Pee Wee Reese, Duke Snider, Zach Wheat. They're all Hall of Famers, but they're from Brooklyn. Who's the greatest Los Angeles Dodger? The all-time great Los Angeles Dodger with a bat. Who is it? Ron Cey? Willie Davis? Justin Turner is in the top 15 of all-time offensive WAR in Dodger history. It would have been Mike Piazza if they had signed him to a long-term deal. It may wind up being Mookie Betts, the reverse Mike Piazza. On the mound, you got a lot of great players who are great pitchers who had phenomenal peaks, like Valenzuela, like Hershiser. And then you got some who had great longevity, like Don Drysdale or Don Sutton. And then there's Kershaw. He had a massive peak. Microscopic ERA, leading the league in strikeouts, innings pitched, got 3,000 strikeouts. For a 9-year stretch, he was the best pitcher in the National League. MVP, 3 Cy Young Awards, 2 runner-up seasons along the way. Most strikeouts in Dodger history, and a lot of the advanced analytics say he's the best pitcher. He's got no hitters, dominant games. He even hit home runs, and he's that dying breed of a starting pitcher that you hand the ball to, and he gives you 9. Now, of course, he had postseason issues, and you can't talk about his legacy without bringing that up. He threw 194 and a third postseason innings. He had a 13-13 record, which I don't really look at win-loss records, but he had a 4.49 ERA, which is about 2 runs higher than his regular season ERA. And he had a couple of huge face plants, including that 2014 season when he won the MVP. He bombed badly when they needed him badly against St. Louis. He bombed badly against Chicago in 2016. He got 1 out in the 2023 playoffs against Arizona. And in some ways, that's what made 2017 and the Astros banging the trash can so crappy, because that was going to be his John Elway moment. The championship, that was the last piece of his resume that he didn't fit. And he was brilliant in game 1 of the World Series against the Astros. He had a 4-0 lead in the 4th inning of game 4. And then all of a sudden, Correa and Gurriel squared up on him, and Jose Altuve got a big home run off of him. All those pitchers who were great pitchers who bombed terribly in Houston that year, like Chris Sale, like CC Sabathia, like Kershaw, like all these pitchers who pitched brilliantly, except when they went to Houston. Then we found out what was happening. And then he came out and pitched 4 shutout innings in game 7 and relief. When he didn't pitch in Houston, he was dominant. He probably would have been the World Series MVP. And, of course, the next year they were playing Boston. He lost the clincher there, and we found out the Red Sox were doing crappy stuff too. Now, Kershaw did get his World Series redemption in 2020. He won 2 games in the 2020 World Series, but it was in front of no fans. And he got his second World Series ring last year, but he was injured. He wasn't on the World Series roster. So he never got that one championship moment in front of fans to sort of redeem him the way that John Elway did late in his career, and the way that someone like Paul Molitor or Dave Winfield, who won rings pretty late in their career and had that great kind of redemptive moment. But don't let that fool you. He was a superstar, a first ballot Hall of Famer, a true difference-making ace. And one of the great figures, when you write the history of the 2020s in baseball, he is going to be one of the towering figures in that. And I think it's safe to say one of the top 5 greatest Dodgers ever. Got Jackie, you got Koufax, you got Drysdale, and you're going to have some combination of maybe Pee Wee Reese, maybe Duke Snider. But do you know what? If you're honest, you have to, and did I mention have to, put Clayton Kershaw into the mix. Do you know why? He's one of the best. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Zippix Toothpicks. There they are. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool when you work reducing your dependence on vaping, and it's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Look at, here's this ones that I got. This has got the peppermint flavored one. I love my peppermint. Guy right in there. And In the past, I've used caffeine, I've used soda, I've used sugary things. And you know what? That gets you jittery, gets you crashing, and these give me the energy without the jitters. This is the peppermint one, and I love it. So what you need to do is go to zippixtoothpicks.com and use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. You must be 21 or older. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's Zippix Toothpicks. There they are again. Zippix Toothpicks. Whoa! Promo code Locked On. Zip more. Smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Zippix. We talked about Jose Ramirez and the Cleveland Guardians in segment 1 when we were talking about the trivia. And I talked the other day that the Cleveland Guardians are going to really regret that stretch in August when they pulled to within a half game of the Yankees and then fell on their face and they dropped 9 out of 10. Well, there's another way to look at that stretch. The Tigers swept the Guardians in early July, basically putting the division on ice. And from July 7th to now, Cleveland has gone 41-23. And if you take out that 1-9 stretch, they've gone 40-14. Now, I know that you can't take that out. That's a little bit of like, besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like to play? But they've been nearly 20 games above 500. And keep in mind, the Guardians just swept Detroit. Now, when I mentioned that July 7th game, the Tigers were up by 15.5 games. That's more than 2 weeks worth of games. That's putting the aft thrusters on and telling Cleveland to eat my dust. And now it's 3.5 games. They have made up 12 games in the standings from July 7th to now. And today, Tanner Bybee and Tarek Skubal, they locked antlers in a pitching duel, and Cleveland waited for the bullpen to take over. And then the aforementioned Jose Ramirez hit a home run off of someone named Troy Melton. I know who Troy Melton is, but he's not Tarek Skubal. Maybe you pull a Hunter Greene, you let him pitch a little longer. And guess what? Cleveland won the game. Now, the Red Sox lost to Sacramento a game. They lost the series to Sacramento, who are, since the trade deadline, the best team in the American League. Sacramento is. And check out Locked On Red Sox, where they're wondering, is this going to cost Cora his job? I don't think it should, but what are you going to do? There's no guarantee the Red Sox are going to have a playoff spot now with about a little more than a week to go. They're only up a game and a half over Cleveland. But stop the presses. If Cleveland's playing Minnesota this week. Okay. Let's say Cleveland plays well against Minnesota. And let's say they pull a little closer. They're 3.5 games behind Detroit. Let's say they pick up a game. They're 2.5 games. Do you know who Cleveland plays next? Detroit. If they can make up a game between now and then playing the Detroit Tigers next week, they're going to be playing Detroit at home for 3 games. If they make up a game, they can get to the point where a sweep could put Cleveland in first place. And maybe, unless, we'll get to the AL West in the next segment, there is a larger than zero chance that the Cleveland Guardians, who are right now on the outside looking into the postseason, could not only win the division, but have a bye. If they make up a game on Detroit, playing Minnesota, possible, and then sweep the Tigers at home, it's possible they just swept them on the road, then Cleveland would be up by half a game with only, 4 or 5 games left to play? The Cleveland would be in position to take over first place. And with the way the American League is set up, and I've been saying this for, all year in the last couple of years, there is no super team in the American League. There is no clear-cut favorite in the American League. There's no dominant team in the American League. Toronto's probably going to win 90-something games. But the odds of any other team, especially the way Detroit's been playing, no one's going to get to the mid-90s. There's no one team. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said, well, Houston looks amazing. And you know what? It looks like Detroit's better than ever. Well, I mean, Toronto is probably the most complete team, but we've seen them take nosedives from time to time. Detroit's going to be playing Atlanta. Atlanta has talent on that team, and Atlanta has some pride on that team. Oh, and by the way, if Detroit gets swept by Cleveland, I was wrong. They only have 3 games left, and they'll be playing Boston, who will probably be playing for their playoff lives. So they'll be facing Crochet at one point. If Atlanta shows up and shows a little pride, and Cleveland continues to pummel their opponents, Detroit, who had a 2-week advantage, more than 2-week advantage, could find themselves getting punched in the proverbial mouth. And as of right now, Detroit does not have the tiebreaker with Cleveland. They don't. So if Cleveland catches Detroit, all they have to do is tie. This is banana boats. This is what I love about September baseball. But you take a look at the way, when they had the Super April, 19-9 May, winning record in June, winning record in August, this really looked like a team the Tigers looked like a team that they were going to pick it up, put it under their arm, and run away with it. And here we are. Cleveland has a terrific chance of passing the Red Sox. Will they pass Detroit? Wouldn't it be wild if this turned out to be Cleveland's year after all this time? And I guess it would make sense with Jose Ramirez passing all those Hall of Famers. This might be the time. I don't know, neither do you, but what I do know is if Cleveland keeps playing well this weekend, Detroit better look over its shoulder. This is not over. Hey, this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. Now, football's back, and Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less than 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes in less than 60 seconds. But baseball's still going on, too. So you do more and less on a Cal Raleigh home run, an Aaron Judge home run, or Max Fried striking out batters. You know what? It's quick, easy. It's my favorite way to follow along with football and baseball down the stretch. Now, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks, you know what it is? It's good to be right. Now, you get all that energy. I got to tell you a little something more about energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. Here's what I love most. They're portable. You got the big taste. You got a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost anywhere you need it. Now, let me tell you something. I love how fast it kicks in, and it's sugar-free. So I don't have to worry about crashing later. They got so many great flavors there and so many. Oh, I love the lime. I love anything lime. I love everything mint. I love everything lime. And that's what you can get right here. So enough of the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. That's 5-hour energy. I need every minute. I thought for sure Hunter Greene was going to be owning baseball today, but you got the Giants and the Dodgers right now 0-0, and both Webb and Yamamoto are throwing one-hitters. So who knows? This might be a great day for aces. What a way to pay a tribute to Clayton Kershaw. By the way, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB game night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB game night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podding casts. The Mariners had a tough night on Wednesday. They lost late to the Royals on a weird opposite field home run on Wednesday night. Well, Luis Castillo made up for that today. He gave the Mariners 6 shutout innings, and he got his 10th win. Again, I don't really look at wins and losses, but it's nice to have double-digit wins. I'm sure it's good for the old ego. Polanco and Crawford drove in all the runs. Seattle won 2-0. Houston was idle. Now, you want to talk about the biggest series of the weekend? I know it's going to feel like it's going to be Giants-Dodgers. It's Seattle-Houston. Let me tell you something. These two teams are in a flat-foot tie at the top of the American League West. And it is an absolute true tie because right now their head-to-head record is dead even. Starting Friday, they play each other. Dead even. No tiebreaker has been determined. So whomever wins 2 out of 3 will not only be in first place going into the final week of the season, but also have the tiebreaker. This could be this could be the biggest series of the year because of that. Because whoever wins that, it's like, someone's going to win that series. Now, if one team sweeps it, then that's like winning 4 games because you get those 3 wins on them and the tiebreaker. But even if you 2-1, that's essentially picking up. You walk away with a 1-game lead. That's essentially a 2-game lead with a week to go. And right now, we take a look on Friday. The game is going to be played in. It's in Houston, right? Yeah, it's in Houston. And it's a phenomenal first start. Wu, who's been terrific this year and has thrown some just fantastic games down the stretch for the Seattle Mariners. He's going up against Hunter Brown, who's really, really good. So look at it. Both teams are 84 and 69. Top of the AL West in Houston. Game 1. This is kind of a playoff series here. Now, the way it's set up, the Mariners and the Astros, one of them could miss the playoffs. If the Red Sox get hot and Cleveland gets hot, and one of them stubs their toe against the other in this head-to-head series, they could find themselves battling for their lives, battling for their postseason lives. You know that, and I know that. But here we go. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend of baseball. Obviously, you have that great matchup, which is the matchup of the year. We're going to see, by the way, I know this doesn't really amount to much in terms of the standings, but the A's are a terrific road team, and they're 72 and 81, but they're probably going to avoid 90 losses this year. And it would be interesting to see how close to 500 they're going to get. If they lose one more game, they'll have a losing year, but they've been playing really, really well. The Cubs are a playoff team. The Reds are on the outside looking in. Lodolo can really pitch well, and we've seen him throw some really terrific games. And we're going to see Imanaga, huge start for him to see how he fits in the playoff picture. Warren is pitching for the Yankees, who are looking to clinch a playoff position. I think, especially after their win, and Fried was fantastic. Fried is pitching like an ace, and the Yankees got to feel really great no matter who they play, even if it's against Crochet or whomever in Game 1 of the playoffs. They got to feel great about that. Warren, they got to see what he's able to do. Rogers is pitching for the Orioles, who's been terrific. The aforementioned Braves-Tigers series, Elder doesn't have a good overall record, but he's pitched well recently. Charlie Morton is going for the Tigers. He has World Series rings with both the Astros and the Braves. He wants a third one. Sprout is pitching for the Mets, who are playing for their lives. It's Crochet Day as they're playing in a minor league park against Tampa Bay. Crochet Day against the Rays in Tampa Bay. The Padres are looking to clinch a playoff spot, and Dylan Cease is going back to south side of Chicago. So we're going to see what happens with that. The Blue Jays are looking to inch closer and closer to a division title, handing the ball over to Max Scherzer, who very briefly was a teammate with Clayton Kershaw. The Rangers are holding on to their playoff lives and not doing as well as they hoped. And Molly's going up against Junk of the Miami Marlins. And the aforementioned Guardians are playing the Twins. Lopez is pitching for Minnesota. He's a pretty good pitcher. The Brewers and Mizorowski are inching closer to their division title as they face Gray and the St. Louis Cardinals. And then you have the Kershaw is pitching against Ray for the Dodgers, which will probably be the final regular season start for Clayton Kershaw at Dodger Stadium. So it's going to be a great weekend of baseball and one that we should all be watching. Let's go to the trivia question, shall we? We mentioned a bunch of aces here. Scherzer and Kershaw are both pitching tonight. Think about how long their career has been. They were both drafted in the 2006 draft. The Royals had the number 1 overall pick, and that same draft saw Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and Tim Lincecum were all in that draft, and those 3 pitchers would combine for 8 Cy Young awards. What pitcher did Kansas City draft with the top pick in the 2006 draft? Not Kershaw, not Scherzer, not Lincecum. Who did the Royals pick number 1 overall in 2006? Put your answers right down here. Talking about the legend of Clayton Kershaw, about the fact that the Cleveland Guardians are making it much more interesting than we would have thought. And oh yeah, the best series of the year might be starting on Friday night. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.